Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training. Here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear and On Point Pest Control. This week, we're talking about the effects of cognitive distortions on a championship run. Before we get started, if you have athletes or incoming athletes who would be interested in upping their mental game this summer, I'm running a 4-week college athlete summer mental performance training program where we'll meet one time a week, have worksheets and extra work to do, not too taxing, but where we'll build habits of excellence. We'll go through a bunch of mental performance tools that will help improve performance. So if you have anybody in your group that would be interested in such a thing, have them go to ssbperformance.com/athlete workshops. There's a link in this tip, and they can get all the information there. I'd love to see athletes from all over the country join this. I have a 1-section, 10-person cohort set up for now. If I get more than that, then we'll open up different sections. But I'd love for you to help get that information out to your athletes if possible. Thanks in advance for that. As we go into this week's tip, it was a great weekend. It was championship weekend for college softball. My college alma mater is going to the NCAA tournament. 2 of my players who lead Cleveland State University made it to the NCAA tournament. And numerous of my teams, Wilmington, one of my teams, is going to Georgia to play in the NCAA tournament. But throughout the season, numerous of my teams have fought or made it through to the next round. And that is so exciting. I can't tell you how much joy I get watching them and the emotions that I feel because I get an inside look at these programs and then get to see them do all the things that they've practiced and worked on at the most pressure-filled moments. What a joy. And it's even more joyful because I know that all of these coaches work so hard and these athletes do the right thing, and it's great to watch. So just a joy to be a part of that. In between games this weekend, there was lots of softball in this house this weekend. We played a few games of war. Yes, the old card game. You just throw it down and you win or you lose. The reason we're doing that is because my son has been grounded from his electronics for a week. That's a story for another day. And every toy in the house has been brought to life again. So that leads me to believe that there may be a little less electronic work in our house in the future and more toy playing and war playing. But as we were playing war, in the first round, we're throwing our cards down and collecting our cards, and I kicked his butt in round 1. And he was ready. He's like, oh, that's it. It's over. Like, no, dude, we're going to go another round. In fact, we're going to go until someone is holding all the cards. So we went another round, and our handfuls began to even out. And then we went another round, and all of a sudden we're going with double wars, and I'm losing these double wars, and he is slowly catching up. We get to one point, and he's like, I think we have about the same. And I knew that wasn't the case. I knew that he was getting ready to put this game to bed himself. But we kept going, and we kept going, and we kept going until I found myself with a handful of faceless cards, and I knew that the end was near. And then there were a couple more double wars, and I was toast. That was the end. Had we finished after that first round, or had I allowed him to think that what was going to happen then was going to happen from then on out, he would have walked away a loser. And as I sat there playing this game with him, I thought, I've seen this. Just recently, I've seen this, where a team has lost game 1. I've also seen another team lose game 1. And we had 2 very different outcomes with these teams. And I'm going to tell you the tale of these 2 teams, some hypothetical, some based in fact from experience in the past. But team 1 loses game 1. They start to get after each other a little bit. They get away from who they are, and they start to tell stories. Team 2 loses game 1, and they tell stories too. But their stories are based in, we are built for this. We are in the fire, and we're always in the fire, and that's where we are meant to be, and let's see what we can do. Team 1, on the other hand, starts to tell stories that don't help. Stories that start some catastrophizing. Stories that say, oh, we lost game 1. The weather's going to be bad. The top seed's going to go. We're not going to play any more games. Even if we play the next game, it's not going to matter because the top undefeated seed is going to go now that we're defeated and we were at the top expected to win. So we've got storytelling going on. And as I was going through this war game, I thought, wow, the stories we tell ourselves and these distortions, these cognitive distortions that we allow to overtake us, turn into what I call, more simply, messed up thinking. And messed up thinking leads to messed up performance. So what are cognitive distortions? Cognitive distortions, according to, if I can find my notes, Dr. David Burns, who's an author and a psychiatrist, says they're like mind traps. They hijack us. And we know at some point, no matter what we're doing, that we are going to get hijacked. But they mess up our thinking and they sabotage our performance, whether it's jumping to conclusions or whatever it is as we go through. When we get hijacked with these mind traps, we are not setting ourselves up to be where we need to be and do what we need to do, because we're telling these stories of this grandiose thing that's going to happen, and we don't know what's going to happen in the next second. I like to tell the story. I don't really like to tell the story, but my mom, on the way home from vacation, fell down, hit her head, and that was the end. She had a subdural hematoma, and she died. And we were shocked. And from that moment on, my dad has said so many times, we don't know what's going to happen in the next second. We just don't. My son didn't know that in the next hand he was going to catch up. And in the next hand, he was going to start to put me under. And in the next hand, it was just based on the cards we were dealt. But we kept going because we had a next hand. That's the point. But these cognitive distortions don't allow us to see the next hand, because the next hand isn't what we're focused on. We're focused on the end. And we don't know what's going to happen in the next second. So, two of the most common distortions are these. We like to, well, this is all one, really. We like to maximize other people's opportunities and other people's experiences and what happened to us the last time when we played them. And we like to minimize our opportunities or even our contributions at times. And both of these turn into catastrophizing, which makes a big deal out of something that we don't even know what's going to happen next second. So that's one thing. Minimizing, maximizing, and catastrophizing. Those don't help us. We allow the emotion to cloud and take over the moment. And now we're not thinking about the cards in our hand or what's been dealt. We're only thinking about what's been dealt, that we don't have any control over that. Next, we jump to conclusions. We like to mind read, we like to fortune tell, and when we're doing either one of those things, we are not living in the present. We are not looking at the facts. We are going into something without evidence. We fortune tell, this is what's going to happen, or this is what he or she thinks, when we don't have any evidence to back any of that up. Sure, we can take evidence from the past of one singular thing and turn it into this is what's going to happen all the time, but that is a cognitive distortion. That's messed up thinking, because just because it happened right there does not mean that it's going to happen now. Why? Because I'm a different person with new information now. I can change things because I get to control how I respond. Really, really, really important. Have you ever said something like, I always, or we never? Well, that's an overgeneralization. That's a cognitive distortion too. Again, we take something that happened once and we think that's how it's all going to happen from here on out. Not true. We know that. Things are rarely always, and things are rarely never. There's a lot of gray area in the world, and there's a lot of opportunities that because we think always and never, our eyes are closed to, and then it makes it seem that way because we don't see chances. It's going to rain. We already lost one. Now we're not the number one seed anymore. So, even if we play that game, what's it matter? We always do this. Or when we get in pressure, we always do this. Or here we go again. You've felt it, you've been there, and you've thought it before too. Dr. Carlin Anderson, who directs sports psychology at the University of Minnesota, says this: when athletes fall into the trap of all or nothing thinking or overgeneralization, it can impair their ability to stay focused and resilient under pressure. She explained it's like wearing invisible blinders that narrow our field of vision and limit their options on the field or on the court. It's like looking through a stained glass window or an old glass window. You can see them in old Tudor houses. And you can see through it. You know there's something on the other side, but you can't see the edges and you can't see it clearly. There's something there, but it's all messed up. And you really can't tell what it is or who it is. So it's like looking through your fingers like this. These are our cognitive distortions. We're looking through, and I can see the camera in front of me, but I certainly couldn't play this way. But as soon as I move that away, I can see everything that I need to make the right decisions and give the right amount of effort. But these distortions, they hold us back. I am certain that Team 2, who stayed away from distortions, I'm sure they had doubts slip in. But they made a conscious decision to stick to the plan. The plan was, okay, one game at a time. We lost. Sure, that's disappointing. And we know that the road ahead is going to be much harder. But instead of giving up after that first hand, their second hand turned into 5 more games. And it wasn't until the 7th inning of that last one where they lost their ability to get another deal. Man, they were so close. And they deserved it so much. But it wasn't meant to be. A bad bounce here, a home run there, a missed opportunity there, good effort there. And sometimes the ball just bounces the wrong way. But they gave everything, and I guarantee you they walked away from that feeling very different than Team 1, who was counting on the forecast, which we know is not always accurate. So, if my son had given up in round 1, he would have walked away a loser. But instead, he kept playing the hand, playing the hand, playing the hand, and keeping the distortions at bay. It's important for us to be able to notice these distortions. We need to know what they sound like. We need to know what they look like and when they show up so that we can notice them and move the distortion away. We don't have to look through that window. We can open the window up and we can see very, very clearly. So what are your cognitive distortions that you fall prey to? If we know what they are, because self-awareness is the first step to self-management, if we know what they are, we can be much better at managing them. So I challenge you to think about the distortions that come into your mind so that you can help those you lead notice theirs. And so we can constantly be looking for opportunities and play the hand we're dealt until we run out of cards. Because if we play as long as we can, we're going to feel better than bowing out early. Even if we don't get what we want. We know that that's true. So until next week, get your college kids or your college athletes into my summer 4-week program, guaranteed to help improve their performance and build a stronger mindset. Number 2, take a look at your cognitive distortions and then keep an eye out. I'm going to run a 4-week mental performance program for coaches this summer as well. And I hope that some of you will join me to help build your mental game and build your own personal tools so that you can manage this thing of coaching that is no joke of a profession. Until next week, have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next Monday. Check out those distortions, clear them out, open the window, and have a great week.